がっかりですよ、黒崎さん。
北斗神拳は2000年の一子相伝。お前ごときが使えるほど甘くはない。
Over 8,000? Come on, that can't be right. It must be broken or something.
So what'll happen to me? You're here to take my soul, right?
The world is about to change.
Tenchi, don't tell me. You were so hard up you slept with a mummy.
Get a life, clown.
Lady, the problem isn't in my pants.
Ramen! Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a special Sunday show known as Otaku Nation. I am your host, Michael Burhan, and with me today is a very special co-host by the name of Stephen. Is it Williamson, Stephen?
Stephen Wadling.
Wadling. There we go, Stephen Wadling. See, I don't even remember his name properly. How much of a bad host am I? Sorry about that, Stephen. And today we are talking about all things otaku, quite specifically anime, manga, things that basically mean the world to us. And we're speaking from a fan's point of view to fans, like all of you lovely people out there. And if you want to call into the show, you can do on 760-512-7247. That's 760-512-7247. Now, today, the show, we're actually going to be going on about Shonen Jump. But before we do that, let's actually talk about anime news. So, Stephen, have you got some news for us?
Well, most recently, Blue Exorcist, which is a very popular anime, recently released a movie in the United States as an English dub. And if you go to blueexorcist.com/the-movie, there's still some listings available.
Ooh, that's actually quite awesome. You got anything else?
Most recently, which is creating a lot of buzz, is Nintendo and Game Freak have banded together and they're releasing a new Pokemon anime. This is not based on the original series with Ash Ketchum, Brock, etc., but it's going to be based on the original Red and Green game, or for the US release, Red and Blue, and it's going to star Red. It's not really going to touch on the manga version of the story, but generally the plot line. I'm not sure if it's going to be a series yet or if it's just going to be a one-off special, but as a fan, I'm very excited.
I am as well, because it's going to be a very different take in comparison to what we're used to. And so, what's going to happen to the other Pokemon series of Ash Ketchum? Are they going to be ending that?
No, that's still going to be going on as normal. I think this is just a special, probably to win back some of the old fan base. And I'm hoping it's going to be, if it is popular enough, it's going to be a long-term thing. The art style's different, and it's a lot better. And in general, it just looks like a really good, fresh of breath air for the Pokemon fan.
Well, that's true as well. In some more news here, guys, we've got Viz Media have announced at its Shoujo Beat panel in the Japan Expo on Sunday that has licensed 2 new mangas. Arina Tamura's Phantom Thief Jian, I don't know if I'm saying that right, and Tomu Ohim's Spell of Desire, and will ship the first 2 volumes next year in March and August respectively. DC Comics CMX Manga previously published all 7 volumes of Phantom Thief Jian between 2005 and 2007. CMX Manga was then closed in 2010, so this is looking at a good thing. So if you're a fan of the series, there you go, it's going to be relaunched for you people. And Omi launched the ongoing series of Majo no Byakuya, and that was launched in the Shugakun Petty Comic magazine in 2011, and it's the 4th volume shipped in Japan early in the month. So the story, Kuroku runs a small herb shop after losing both of her parents when she was young, and one day a mysterious man dressed in all black enters the shop, and Kuroku discovers the true nature of this man named Kanami Hibiki. So Viz Media have got 2 lovely little licenses there, and as you know, Viz Media is the company behind Shonen Jump Weekly, which is who we're going to be talking about today. So there you go, guys, and if you've got any news for us, give us a call on 760-512-7247. That's 760-512-7247, or you can actually call us using the Skype button and save your pennies. So make sure that you do that, guys. And let's go on to the main topic of discussion, because it's going to be a very long topic today, and that's in regards to Shonen Jump. Now, for those of you who are not associated with otaku or manga, as you will, or haven't seen anything past certain series or genres of anime, you'll know that Shonen Jump was the company that was the sort of the magazine that was behind Dragon Ball Z, and also quite recently the Naruto series. They also published, I believe, Bleach, Death Note, and a few other series on their magazine. It used to be a monthly magazine. It was published in Japan by Shueisha from 1970 to 2007 under the Jump line of magazines, and basically then became a weekly magazine. Now, also in the States, there was a stateside version of this, which then became a online-only magazine, because everything's going digital. Do you know what I mean, Stephen?
Well, yeah, it's like most things. Give it 10 years, and you're going to see a lot of TV in general go to the computers, and it only makes sense that people are no longer willing to go out and get a book or a magazine, etc. So it's only the right move. Yeah,
in the age of Kindles and tablets, that's basically the way that they've gone with that. But that's the American version. Now the Japanese version is a weekly title, and it's published by Viz Media, and literally I'm trying to find out a bit more about it. The magazine itself, it was retooled for English and American audience as well, to include the changing from a weekly publication to a monthly one when it was the American one. But the one we want to focus on is the Japanese one. Okay. Now, the first cover was released in July the 2nd, 1968, and it's still circulating as one of the longest-running manga magazines in Japan. Its circulation of 2.8 million copies up to 2009, and the chapters of the series that's run in the weekly Shonen Jump are collected and published in tankobon volumes under Jump Comics imprint every 2 to 3 months. The manga series within the magazine target young male readers and tend to consist of a large number of action scenes and a fair amount of comedy. What do you think of that, Stephen? Do you think that's a very fair demographic to actually say?
A fair demographic?
Yeah, like young males.
It's probably the easiest one to produce content for, so I can't blame them for doing that.
Sorry, man. Go on.
See, it'd be nice to see a bit more diversity as far as what content they produce. I mean, there's a lot of shows that can appeal to both audiences, both female and male.
Now, they create very special issues as well, including Jump Next, which is a seasonal edition of the weekly Shonen Jump, which is published on Japanese holidays, which was previously published under the name Akamaru Jump. Or Akamaru Jumpu. The magazine features many amateur manga artists who get their one-shots published in the magazine. Akamaru Jump also puts additional one-shot titles by professional manga artists, which are an upcoming series to be published in the main magazine. Lately, it also is featuring the last chapters of cancelled series from weekly Shonen Jump, such as Enigma Magico, and it also features Yonokoma, and also popular series such as Death Note and Naruto. Jump Next has had several other past special versions as well, including Amora Jump. There we go. Couldn't get it all in a mouthful. Is a single issue of Jump Next. One shots that featured Amora Jump were Dead Undead, Shoga Yoji, Michi, The Dream, Miruto, Yuto, Hoshi, and Fuku and Jutsu. And again, I do apologize if I am literally butchering my Japanese here, because I'm a Westerner. What do you expect? They also did V-Jump, which was originally an offshoot weekly Shonen Jump magazine, and a special issue called Weekly Shonen Jump Tokubetsu Henshu Zoku V-Jump. Its a special issue lasted from 92 to 93, and V-Jump became its own independent anthology in 93 for coverage of games, including video and card games. And then they had another one called Super Jump, which was originally an offshoot of the Weekly Shonen Jump magazine with a special issue called Weekly Shonen Jump Dokubetsu Henshu Zoken Super Jump. Try and say that in more than one mouthful. This magazine was published from 1968 to 1988, and in 1988 it became a separate anthology of seinen. So there you go, guys, and that's literally about what the entirety of this magazine was, what they published, and also the foreign ones and stuff that they've basically done, including the American titles. Now we want to talk about quite specifically the Japanese Weekly Shonen Jump. That's what we're talking about here. We're going to figure out and talk to you guys about exactly the series that came from this magazine, including the stuff that you haven't actually seen on television, but the stuff that, basically including the bits and pieces that haven't been serialized into cartoons and stuff that has been serialized into cartoons as we go on from there. So the first cartoon we want to talk about, which started off as a series from August 1997, was One Piece. So, Stephen, you're a big fan of One Piece, aren't you?
To be quite honest, no, but I'm very familiar with this.
Okay, so tell us your point of view about One Piece. What's it about?
One Piece, well, you've got Luffy, Monkey D. Luffy, who generally has a similar appearance to Sun Wukong, which I thought was pretty neat. And the plot takes it of a young boy who basically ends up eating something. Was it called the Devil's Fruit?
Yes. He unintentionally eating the Devil Fruit.
Yeah, it gives him some really freaky and cool powers that resort into giving him some amazing fight scenes throughout the show. And this series has become extremely popular to the point where it's actually outsold Dragon Ball Z in Japan now.
Seriously?
Yep, it's the only show that's actually pulled it off, and I was very surprised at it.
Wow. And as we know, the chapters themselves have been incorporated into original video animation, which, as most of you guys know, are OVAs. Produced and by a production company called Production IG in 1988. In an anime series produced by Toei Animation, which began broadcasting in Japan in 1999. Since then, the still ongoing series has aired over 600 episodes. Additionally, Toei has developed 11 animated feature films and an OVA in 5 television specials. Several companies have developed various types of merchandising, such as trading card games and a large number of video games. Have we played any of these video games? I don't even know if they're actually out on consoles.
It's very rare that we find them, and it's normally Sony-based video games. It seems like whenever you get these weird Japanese games come out, it's solely fixed on Sony. And that's partly because the Xbox is pretty much dead over in Japan now.
Yeah, that never really took off, did it? Because of the fact that it's an American console, they tend to sort of support their own down there. So they would either go with a Nintendo or a Sony. Which I give a big tip my hat off to Japan, to all of Japan for doing that.
To support each other, it's the right way of doing it.
yeah, exactly.
It's very rare that you'll find an anime game cross over to the UK or the USA. I mean, there's been a few like Shaman King, but that's about it.
Exactly. When it comes down to gaming habits as well, I believe the first anime game that I played was the Ranma Half series, and that was released on the Super Nintendo, but in very small quantities. You literally had to go searching for that game.
Yeah, for me it was definitely Dragon Ball Z games that were my first taste of anime games.
Well, they had one that came out recently, which was the Dragon Ball Z Connect game, which got critically panned, and literally everyone just shitted on it.
Well, what you've got to realise is that is just a rehash of one game that's already been out, but they've just used it to market the Connect, and you cannot blame the fans for backlashing against it. Exactly.
So yeah, One Piece, like all popular series, have all been released in other countries such as the UK, Australia, and North America by like Viz Media, Golanx Manga, Madman Entertainment, and Funimation Entertainment, which the company is behind Pokemon. The Pokemon series, which then changed its name to 4Kids Entertainment. In 2008, One Piece became the highest circulating manga series, and in 2010, Shueisha announced that they sold over 260 million volumes of One Piece manga so far. Volume 61 set a new record as the highest initial print run of any book in Japan, with 3.8 million copies, and a previous record belonging with Volume 60 with 3.4 million copies. Volume 60 was the first book to sell over 2 million copies in its opening week in Japan. Oricon Books ranking One Piece is currently ranked as the best-selling manga series, as it enjoys its very high readership with more than 280 million volumes of the series sold in Japan as of 2012. One Piece received a wide critical acclaim for reviewers, preliminary for its art, characterization, humor, and story. So, why do you think this is, Stephen? Why do you think the series is so popular with people?
Well, obviously Japan has their own has a specific, well, I wouldn't say specific, a variety of taste, and whatever seems to be the buzz, whatever seems to buzz in Japan normally makes its way over into an English adaptation, and depending on how generally websites like 4chan take it, deems how successful it's going to be, and it just clicked. I'm not sure particularly why. It's got a lot of unique and charismatic characters, and I can suppose that's why it appealed to people.
And, you know, the fun thing about this as well, as like Naruto, it basically got its own block on Toonami. So the One Piece is basically still going on as a series. At one point, there was this... I don't know if it was One Piece or if it was Bleach, actually, that had been cancelled over in Japan.
There wasn't a big... Well, I know One Piece actually got in favour with the fans a lot more once they actually ripped the rights from 4Kids for them to dub and sold it to Funimation, I think it was, because they was very angry at the way the anime was being portrayed. And that might have been whilst some of the reason why people thought it was cancelled, but I'm not sure if it was necessarily One Piece.
Yeah, so I believe that what's happened as well, it's... How can I say this without sounding really rude? Fuck it, I'll just sound rude. The whole issue with 4Kids Entertainment is they tend to kind of bastardize the series that they work with.
That was the exact word I was looking for. Yeah,
and it's... if you look at series such as Naruto, and the fact that was actually pulled from Toonami because, you know, they couldn't really hold an audience for it because they kept chopping and cutting that up to the point where the series was unrecognizable. Now it's actually being, I believe, and don't quote me on this, it's being shown in its entirety on Hulu now, via their Hulu Plus stream platform. So now the series itself, it receives, two variations. One which is a dub, and the other one which is a more or less subtitled version of it. So if you want to see it in all its Japanese glory, you can see the subtitle version, or if you want to basically have the English dub over it, you can do by checking those both out on Hulu Plus. So there you go, guys.
When you talk about I cannot pronounce that word for the life of me.
Bastardization.
That's the one. Well, you take a look at One Piece, you take a look at the English and then the Japanese content. They turn, cigarettes into lollipops? That is a ridiculous amount of sheltering as far as the kids. They're not going to be corrupt by seeing a cigarette on their animated shows, and that's the reason why it does not settle well with some of the audiences.
Yeah, I think that's the one thing that the anime audience don't tend to have. If, for instance, I'm going to use a whole terminology in terms of Power Rangers, which is one of my favourite shows, in terms of like kid shows and stuff, but over when they had the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers over here, and it was, what was it called? It was the Sentai series over in Japan. They killed off a major character, which was the Green Ranger over here. And they had a chance to bring him back and stuff. They went, nope, he's going to stay dead. We're going to show kids the difference between life and death and how not every character will stay alive and, come back. No,
there's only one anime which I saw which ended up in English dub that actually did that, and strangely enough it was Digimon. But other than that, they seem to really shelter the US and UK audiences from very controversial topics.
I think they just think that we're all going to turn into gun-wielding maniacs. That's probably what it is. That, go around just shooting people for no reason.
It was never always like this. I mean, you take a look at some of the old cartoons like Tom and Jerry, and they were violent as heck. So I don't know. I don't know why the world's got so PC.
I grew up on Tom and Jerry, and trust me, I'm one of those guys that watched it, and I haven't killed a single person. Well, to my knowledge, anyway. I might, I sleepwalk at times. I probably could have just gone round.
And there's a few drunken nights which you'd rather not discuss.
Yeah, exactly. Waking up in the ditch. So yeah, that's the appeal of this show. The show is very cheeky. From what I understand, it's pirates. That's the in thing at the moment. People love pirates.
Yeah, Luffy wanting to become king of the pirates.
Yeah, exactly. And this follows his journey. He's very an unlikely character as well. He seems rather weak. He seems very timid, and he seems like someone that you wouldn't really want to get into a fight with. But then
you always want to root for the underdog anyway. And as far as like his personality-wise, he seems that way. But when you actually see what he can do, he's far from it. And I think that relates with people.
Very much so. So segueing out, let's go from another unlikely character in a character known as Naruto. Now, this series is sort of very close to my heart because I started watching this a couple of years back because at the time I kind of fell out with anime for the lack of English translation titles that came over here. And, if you're a fan of the anime forums, and as soon as someone starts licensing a title for release over the UK or the United States, they then stop any fan-made subtitles version of the Japanese ones coming over here. They'll file copyright claims. It's happened before. I remember I was watching Death Note before it came out over here. They ended up basically filing a claim before I got to the 4th episode. Bam, gone. And this was no different. The last issue I had was with a series called Tenchi Muyo, where they had the 3rd OVA series, and apparently some company got the copyright, and bam, couldn't see it anywhere. Couldn't watch it, couldn't find out what happened, and it was a very tongue-in-cheek series, but that's for another episode. But I fell out of touch with it. I was like, forget this. I can't watch the drivel that they're putting on TV because they're just literally diluting their stuff. It's trickling down.
Yeah, I was in a very similar position for a while. I'd been introduced to it through animes like Cardcaptor Sakura and Dragon Ball Z from what had come on our TV. But to actually get any content other than what's on the TV, you had to search really far and wide before the internet became as savvy as it was as far as dishing out content went.
Yeah. And it got to the point where you could never see Japanese dubs anymore. So, and I believe it's going to happen again, mind you, because I know there's a few sites that have come out that actually have Japanese dubs of certain titles where you can see them in all their entirety. But with this, you couldn't see anything at the time. So I was introduced to a series by my brother who was hugely into anime called Naruto, and he goes, "You've got to check this out." And I'll say to him, what is this? What is this series about? He wouldn't tell me anything. He goes, just watch the series. So I took a look at it, at the artwork, and I was like, okay, it's a little boy. Let's see what this is about. So I watched it, and it got me really excited because, again, it was one of those series that it actually has a children's audience that it's directed towards, but it's very adult orientated.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of violence in it. It doesn't tone it down at all. It's just goes full ahead and sticks to what it's meant to be, and that's something I can respect as far as the content goes.
Exactly. Now let's go into a little bit about the manga. So it was first published as a one-shot comic by Kishimoto in August 1997 as an issue of Akumara Jump. The manga was first published by Shueisha in 1999, and it was 43rd issue of Japan's weekly Shonen Jump magazine, and currently the manga is still being serialized, 63 tankobon volumes, and have been released so far. The manga was left adapted into an anime, which was produced by Studio Pierrot and Aniplex. It premiered across Japan on terrestrial TV, Tokyo Network, and anime satellite television, network Animax on October 3rd, 2002. And that's a funny thing. You know, Animax was supposed to come over in the UK?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, Sky actually bought the rights to it. So they were going to bring a version of Animax over to the UK, and they were going to have, like, Shonen Jump series. They were going to have...
You do know that Sky TV actually had an anime channel for a while.
Yeah, that was Animax.
Well, they had those... Are you aware of a channel called Parallel, I think it is?
Parallel?
Mm-hmm. There used to be a channel called Parallel. They had a 4-hour window of anime.
Oh, no, I don't think it's Parallel. I believe it's Paramount. Paramount channel, which became the Paramount Comedy channel. They were showing Guyver, wasn't it?
Well, no, this is... I know what the Paramount channel is. It was an extra channel called Parallel, and it only lasted all for about, a year.
But yeah,
for a while, you actually got some anime, but unfortunately, it was literally one to two series all the time of stuff like Cowboy Bebop, and that was about it.
Because I know there was something similar on the Paramount Comedy. Well, it became the Paramount Comedy channel, but it was the Paramount channel, and they were showing like other shows in terms of like I believe it was Guyver. I believe they were showing like Legend of the Overfiend and loads of other like series produced by who was the company behind them? Can't think of them, but they were basically showing all those, and then they eventually were going to produce Animax for Sky Television. They had all these shows that were going to come out, and then it just went, and they instead did the Cartoon Network Toonami block, which is where Naruto and Naruto Shippuden debuted. Now, again, episode 200. It lasted 220 episodes for Naruto, and it added a sequel called Naruto Shippuden. And that happened in February 15th, 2007. In addition to the anime series, Studio Pierrot had developed 8 movies for the series and several original OVAs. It has loads of merchandise, including like novels, video games, trading cards developed. This gained a huge fan following, including Viz Media had licensed the manga and anime for North America production, and they also published a series in the Shonen Jump magazine, which is the American version of it. And an anime series began airing in the United States and Canada in 2005, and later in Australia in 2006 and the United Kingdom in 2006, respectively. And the films, and basically the first film premiered in cinemas, which was the DVD release Naruto Shippuden by Viz in North America in September. And also now I believe they have actually started to broadcast Naruto Shippuden in Disney XD, so I'm quite happy about that.
Huh. Well, I'm glad it's getting a larger audience.
Yeah, because when it was on Toonami, it was terrible. Literally.
Well, I've never really been a fan of how Cartoon Network generally runs. It was fun back in the days as a kid having Dragon Ball Z, but in general, they've not done a very good job with anime.
No, I totally agree with you. I believe that the company as a whole has they've lacked a lot of inspiration in terms of basically supporting anime in general.
Do you know who was pretty shocking as far as dishing out anime content was Fox Kids before it became Jetix?
How so?
They had like a few shows. I think they had the distribution of Digimon. They had Metabots. They had Shaman King, and it was kind of just came out of left field. They never had that sort of content, and then one day they're dishing it out more than Cartoon Network was. I
think it's in terms of the content, they used to leave things totally unedited, because they used to have loads of cartoon series as well that are very gritty. If you remember the old X-Men cartoon series and the Spider-Man series and stuff like that as well, they were very, very. They were focused more on the elder teenagers rather than the kids. So it was, I don't know, it was quite weird in terms of how they actually ran things up there. But again, it's a shame, with Cartoon Network, and when it turned to Jetix, it all became very child-orientated. But now they're kind of taking the reins a little bit more now. It's, they're pulling back a bit, and they're allowing more sort of in-between content to come through. So we'll see how it goes. You know, like cartoons like the regular show and Adventure Time and stuff that literally when I was a kid, I wouldn't be able to see stuff like that. You know, but they've got it out there now. But we're not talking about those shows. We're going to be talking about Otaku today. As you guys know, this is Otaku Nation, as we talk about everything anime orientated. It's your one-stop shop for anime, for manga series, and today we're talking about Shonen Jump, and we're touching on the world of Naruto, which is a series that spawned from Shonen Jump as we speak on it. Now, we'll talk to you a little bit about the plot in terms of what Naruto is about. Do you want to take that, Stephen?
Naruto. It's been a while since I've touched on this series, but
I can get you started if you like. Okay, 12 years before the start of the series, a powerful creature known as the Nine-Tailed Demon Fox attacked the ninja village Kohona, killing many people in response to the leader of Kohona, the fourth Hokage, sacrificed his life to seal the demon inside a newborn, Naruto Uzumaki. Kohona, however, regarded Naruto as if he were a demon fox itself, mistreated him throughout most of his childhood. The decree made by the current Kage, the third Hokage, forbade anyone to mention the attack of the demon fox to anyone else. This included Naruto himself. So, Stephen, take it from there.
And from there, the story takes off as Naruto, who wants to become a full-fledged ninja, and he constantly faces trials and failures. And it is the typical story of the underdog character trying to jump over hurdles, and what eventually takes you on to a very rapidly fast-building adventure full of great combat and excitement. And it's got one of the biggest anime character rosters you could ever hope for. If you're not a big fan of Naruto, you might enjoy Sasuke. If you're not a fan of Sasuke, you might enjoy Gaara. It's really cool.
And there's an interesting story between both Naruto and Sasuke as well, because Sasuke's family were literally wiped out. He was like the last of his kind, where his brother basically fled and became kind of like the enemy to the Kohona. You know, he was literally went out on his own, and then Sasuke then turned on everybody. Eventually, after finding out his heritage, turned on his friends, turned his back on everyone, and the majority of the story, you can actually see the relationship that builds between Sasuke and Naruto and Sakura as well, and how the three of them had this bond, and Naruto had made this promise to Sakura that he would get Sasuke back, because he went from being this dreamy type of character that the girls were lusting over to this huge dark horse to literally one of the lead villains of the story.
Which is one of the most charming things about this series is that it's not like they bring in a character, develop them and drop them. They do make the effort to go all the way with each individual character.
Yeah, and that's the thing as well. It's a big thing here is character development. They've developed each individual character. You see characters that you face bonds with, you come to love, you came to delve and become interested in, to the point where they become a part of you for a sense. And then when they eventually, anyone, this is like The Walking Dead in terms of anime franchises, because any person, no matter how big of a character they are, can get killed off here. They don't care.
Which is great. I mean, there's plenty of animes where the writers have been restricted from getting rid of a guy because the fan base has been that heavy and angry at them, but they've had to go back and rewrite them into the story somehow. I mean, you've only got to take a look at Dragon Ball Z. They wanted to write Goku out the story and set up with Gohan, but they couldn't do it.
Yeah, they tried so many times, and I remember how GT literally had so much venom spewed at it because of the fact they turned Goku into a child again.
Well, another issue with that is it was the initial Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball series was written and pretty much had Akira Toriyama doing most of the work on it. Dragon Ball GT, he pretty much oversaw the project, and people for that reason have resented it.
Sort of like his bastard child.
Yeah, it's like the first two series, he was literally involved in all of it, and GT kind of just oversaw it and let everyone else do the work, and people have become very venomous towards it.
So there you go. We'll go into a bit more about Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball GT in a little bit as we continue on with Naruto Shippuden. Basically what happened was the Naruto story came to a close, and they then began his training once again with Shippuden, where they decided to repair Naruto with what's her name again? Suzuki, is it?
I've naturally not watched Shippuden yet. I've only watched Naruto. It's a very long series.
It is a very, very long series. They repaired Naruto with Sakura and also his sensei, Kakashi, who basically they decided to form a team between these three in order to have them hunt down Sasuke and also to protect the village. You see a lot more character development. You see a lot more with these characters and how they build these guys up, including Naruto's relationship with Sasuke, and how they're going to the point where they kind of hate each other, you know, but it's a weird situation. It's like it's more of a sibling rivalry that's going on between the two of them, where he sees Naruto as kind of fodder, and Naruto wants to prove how strong he is, in a sense. We also see a lot of character development with Naruto, as the Nine-Tailed Fox tends to kind of take over him a lot more. You know,
one thing I did notice about Shippuden was the art style it became more improved this time around as well.
Yeah, it stopped being more childlike and became more kind of adult, in a sense.
Well, I think that's what the fan base was screaming for.
Yeah, no, I agree with you totally. And, you know, it's still, in Japan, it was marketed as a children's show. But
they don't shelter the kids as much. I mean, because the children's very respectful to the parents, and the parents generally put everything into context. And
again, though, in this series, you saw a lot of lead characters dying, a lot of developments going on with these characters, and you get to delve a lot more into Naruto's, not just his past, but also into his future, what happened with his family, how things sort of unfolded with his father. You also get to look at Sasuke's situation. You find out the reason why he turned on everybody. So it's literally one of those series. If you haven't checked it out, go from the beginning. Start from Naruto and make your way up to Shippuden. It's still going.
That's why I've not dived into it yet, because I don't want any spoilers or anything, but I want to experience the whole story to do it justice.
I'm trying to be as vague as possible here with people. But that, in a sense, check it out. See what you think of it. It's one of those series where it has a lot going on. And as I said, main characters, you see people dying who you gain an emotional connection with, and it really will infuriate you. If you're like me and you got pissed off when Optimus Prime died in the original Transformers Generation 1 series, you'll be pissed off with this too.
And luckily for anyone who's interested in checking out the series, Naruto is very available to everybody. It's not one of these series that are too hard to find. I mean, I don't know if Netflix has got rid of it yet, but there was or is Netflix. There's Hulu Plus, there's the Zune Marketplace, there's the PlayStation Store, the iTunes Store. So you can get a hold of Naruto in many ways. So if you're excited for it, I recommend going to anywhere like that to check it out.
So the next one as well is Bleach. Now, before we go into Bleach, I just want to let you guys out there know that if you want to call in the show, you want to talk to us about Shonen Jump or the series that are involved in Shonen Jump, you can give us a call on 760-512-7247. That's 760-512-7247, or by clicking the Skype button. So you call in, let us know your feelings on this. Let us know if we're being as accurate as possible or if we're bastardizing this series by giving us a call, because in the end, we want to make sure that we're as accurate as possible here. Because again, we're fans talking about something that we love to fans, to yourselves. Now, Bleach. We're going on to Bleach now, which is a Japanese manga series that was written and illustrated by Tite Kubo. Bleach follows the adventures of Ishigo Kurosaki as he obtains the powers of the Soul Reaper, the Shinigami. Literally, in English, is known as the Death God. a death personification similar to the Green Reaper, and he's another Soul Reaper, Rukia Kushiki. His newfound powers force him to take on the duties of defending humans from evil spirits and guiding departed souls to the afterlife. Bleach has been serialized in the Japanese manga anthology Weekly Shonen Jump since August 2001 and has been collected into 60 Tangopon volumes. In August 2013, since its publication, Bleach has spawned a media franchise. It includes an animated television series produced by Studio Pierrot in Japan from 2004 to 2012. So, yeah, it did end in 2012. There you go. That's the series I was thinking about. And 4 animated films, including 7 rock musicals and numerous video games, as well as many types of Bleach-related merchandise. Viz Media obtained foreign television and home video distribution rights for Bleach in regards to the anime. From March 15th, 2006, Cartoon Network's Adult Swim began airing Bleach in the United States to September 9th, 2006, and Viz Media has licensed manga for English language publication in the United States and Canada. And a very fun fact about this, the main character is actually voiced by Johnny Young Bosch.
Man, he voices everything.
And he started his fame with Power Rangers. And it's actually quite funny to actually know that he did it. And he was actually saying as well where there's certain things that he was supposed to do in the script where they, in regards to the English translation, they didn't sound right, so he tended to go off script a little bit.
He's a very talented voice actor. I mean, you've only got to listen to him in animes like Code Geass or listen to him in Sengoku Basara. He's very good.
So there you go, guys. If you're a Johnny Bosch fan, if you want to see more of what he comes out with, check out Bleach, because he voices the main character in there. So let's go in regards to the plot of this series. Ichigo Kurosaki was a teenager in Karakura Town who is gifted with the ability to see spirits and has in life changed by the sudden appearance of a girl named Rukia Kushiki. Rukia is a soul reaper, one of many entrusted with the preservation of flow souls between the world of the living and the soul society, the Soru Society. She originates by fighting hallows, dangerous lost souls who consume other souls. When she is severely wounded defending Ishigo from the hollow she is pursuing, Rukia transfers part of her spirit pressure, which is her Ryatsu energy, to enable Ishigo to fight in her stead. As a substitute soul reaper, while she is forced to remain in the world of the living until she can recover her strength. As some time passes, her and Ishigo meeting Quincy named Yurura Ishida, who attends the latter's school, Rukia finds herself being taken by her soul reaper superiors back to the Soul Society and sentenced to death for the illegal act of transferring her powers into a human. Now, although he is unable to stop Rukia's departure to Soul Society, Ishigo resolves to rescue her with the aid of several of Yoruya and his other spiritually aware classmates. Now, what do you think of this? As a series, have you watched Bleach, Stephen?
I have watched some of it. I've not watched all of it. I've got to say, the way I got into Bleach is it was basically from pressure from everyone who said, "Oh, if you like this title, you'll definitely like Bleach. You'll definitely like Bleach." So eventually, I dived into it via some YouTube videos that I found, and I've got to say, as far as the voice acting goes and the plot line goes, it is very entertaining. The main character's likable, and the relationship between him and Rukia is very funny.
So there you go, guys. If you want to check it out, you can do. As I said, the series has ended, so you can actually check the complete series in terms of, the manga, the anime itself. If you want to actually take a look at the manga, I believe it's still going on. So you still get to see the journeys of Ishigo in print form, but not on live television. So there you go. Now, I'm not going to spoil it too much because I don't really want to go into the entire plot of this, because
Here All Day is a very long plot. It's much like Naruto in the fact that they had a lot of series, and one thing I have noticed though, as opposed to during this anime as opposed to Naruto, is they don't have as much filler.
Exactly. Now, let's go on to another series now, where I want to really talk about myself, but it's not. It's kind of ended in its entirety, and that's Dragon Ball.
Well, I wouldn't say it's just ended. I mean, there's rumours going on after the last movie.
Well, they had that Dragon Ball Kai series going on, didn't they?
Well, Dragon Ball Kai was basically just a rehash, an edited version of Dragon Ball Z. A few edited scenes, redubbed, and it basically cut out a lot of the filler, which upset a lot of fans.
Well, the problem is, as well, with a lot of these anime series, if you can tell to get to certain points, they're kind of like elongating it a little bit, don't they? They'll get to the point where they'll do filler shows.
Well, the issue with this one in particular was Akira Toriyama could not get the episodes out in the time that the companies wanted them to. I mean, they literally had to make BS stories because the manga wasn't written yet.
So there you go, and that's the whole issue with it. And I think the same happened with Naruto as well, because we had about like 20 to 30 different episodes of them dragging scenes out just so they can get to a certain like level that they did with the manga. Well,
if you go back to the first the Saiyan saga of Dragon Ball Z, and you look at Vegeta flying through space, his colours, as far as how he's coloured in, is completely different. He's got like a reddy brown hair. His armour's totally different, and it's stuff like that they've corrected in Kai.
Oh, so there we go. So it's a different thing. What do you think of Kai in terms of?
Okay, the issue is some of the voice actors from the original Dragon Ball Z series are not there anymore, and I think Ten Shinhan, Tien's voice actor, is actually dead now. So the new voice actors, they're good for the most part, but there's a few that just don't fit. But other than that, I like the series, but it's not going to have the same feel to me because you don't have Bruce Faulkner doing the music either.
Now, let's talk about a little bit about the series. Now, we're going to go from Dragon Ball to Dragon Ball Z to Dragon Ball GT here, and talk about why it was good and why it kind of trailed off a little bit, and also a lot, and why the series has had such a great resurgence and was so receptive now. It all started in the Weekly Shonen Jump in 1984 and then finished in 1995 with 519 individual chapters published in 42 tankobon volumes. And this is the original Dragon Ball saga. We're not talking about Dragon Ball Z as of yet. Now, it inspired by the classical Chinese novel Journey to the West, and the series follows the adventures of protagonist Son Goku from his childhood through adulthood as he trains in martial arts and explores the world in search of 7 mystical orbs known as the Dragon Balls, which can summon a wish-granting dragon when gathered. Along his journey, Goku makes several friends and battles a wide variety of villains, many of whom also seek the Dragon Balls to basically get their own desires. Now, Stephen, tell us what these Dragon Balls are. What are they? What do they do?
Well, when they're introduced into the Dragon Ball, into the first Dragon Ball series, all you know is that Goku's got this one Dragon Ball which he calls Grandpa constantly, and he's referring to his grandfather that gave it him. Basically, once you collect all 7 of these, they've each got an individual star on representing a number from 1 to 7. You can gather them together in a spot, summon the dragon, and he will grant you one wish. That eventually is changed up a little bit as the series goes on, but for the most part it was one wish, and other than a few limitations, it pretty much can be anything, such as immortality or wishing for Bulma's panties.
Did that happen?
Dragon Ball. Oolong wished for Bulma's panties.
There you go, guys. It's too far to actually remember this. I have to go rewatch the series, I think.
It's a lot harder to remember Dragon Ball as it was Dragon Ball Z, and that's because they're two polar opposite animes as far as the way they deliver content.
And we're going to get into that a little bit and basically do a comparison between the 3 variations of this. Actually, no, the 4 variations, including Kai's, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. Now, the 42 tankobons have been adapted to 2 anime series, including one by Toei Animation, which was Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, which together were broadcast in Japan from 1986 to 1996. Additionally, Toei has developed 18 animated feature films, 3 television specials, as well as an anime sequel titled Dragon Ball GT, which takes place after the events of the manga from 2009 to 2011. So it broadcast a revised, faster-paced version of Dragon Ball Z under the name Dragon Ball Z Kai, which most of the original version's footage not featured in the manga was removed. Several companies have developed various types of merchandising based on the series, leading to a large media franchise, which includes films, both animated and live action, collectible trading cards, games, numerous action figures, along with several collections of soundtracks and a large number of video games. The manga series was licensed in English language, released in North America via Viz Media, in the United Kingdom by Galanx Manga, and Australia by the New Zealand by Madman Entertainment. The entire name series was licensed by Funimation Entertainment for an English language release in the United States. Although the series has not always been dubbed by the same studio, there have been many films of the franchise, including the first live-action adaptation being produced in 1989 in Taiwan in 2002, and 20th Century Fox acquired the rights to produce Dragon Ball Evolution.
The most god-awful film ever. You know when that came out, I actually literally watched it and went, this is going to be awful if I compare it to Dragon Ball, so I'm going to watch it as a movie on its own, and it was just as bad.
It was just a bunch of kids basically trying to play characters, wasn't it? And like,
as soon as you have Goku go, I don't know if I can do this, you know that the character, the way they're portraying him is wrong.
Yeah. And also the fact that Bulma had her tits out throughout the majority of the film. It's like the top that she was wearing, she wore this like leather jacket and a top that literally just accented her chest.
I mean, the whole plot was screwed up. I mean, it was like the Dragon Balls were used to destroy the Earth, and there was a whole philosophy of Big Uzaru coming to destroy the Earth, and it turns out to be Goku in some kind of weird, twisted, nonsensical way. But I've tried to erase that film from my mind.
Oh, I tried to as well. I literally just... That film, I had to smoke a lot of weed just to get it out of my system. Damn it. Now I'm thinking about it again. Right, where's my stash?
But me and the wife just laughed through that film. It was terrible.
Yeah.
You know what? I feel sorry for the people that actually went out to a cinema to watch that.
I would that literally, I knew this was going to be another Batman and Robin, so I stayed way clear of the cinema. But let's talk a little bit about Dragon Ball. So it was, as you guys know, it was written and illustrated by Akira Toriyama, who also, if you're a gamer, you know him from the Dragon Quest saga, or in the UK and US at the time it was known as Dragon Warrior. Okay,
that explains why the art style is so similar.
Dragon Ball was initially serialized into a manga anthology under the Weekly Shonen Jump starting December 3rd, 1984, as I stated before. In 1995, when Toriyama grew exhausted and felt he needed a break from drawing, the 519 individual chapters were published into 42 tankobon volumes, with Shueisha from November 10th, 1985 through August 4th, 1995. In 2002, the chapters were re-released in a collection of 34 Kanziban volumes, which included a slightly rewritten ending, new covers, and a color artwork from its weekly Shonen Jump run. The February 2013 issue of V-Jump was released in December 2012, announced that part of the manga will be fully colored and re-released in 2013 into 3 volumes comprising of Saiyan Arc, which begins in chapter 195 of the original series to February 4th, 2013. 5 volumes of the Frieza Arc were released in April 4th, 2013. So look how popular this thing is. I can't believe one man created this whole entire series.
I think it's even more shocking that One Piece actually beat it as far as popularity goes.
Why is that, do you think? Do you think it's just a change of the times?
I don't know. I mean, I didn't see the appeal in One Piece what a lot of people did. I mean, I've checked out so much of it, but I don't understand the jump in... I don't know, I don't get it. I mean, the characters are very charismatic, and it's got a variety... But for the most part, it's just fighting and pirates, so I don't understand.
I don't understand it either. It makes no sense to me, in a sense. But, as I said, it could be flavour. It's change of the times, change of the guard.
Oh, it might just be a different generation of fans, who knows?
Exactly. But again, it's still really successful. You must have earned a ton of money off of this.
Well, yeah, he's been back with he made, Battle of the Gods recently, and there's rumours of him making another series, so who knows how much money he's going to make of it in the future. And they're still pumping out video games like no tomorrow.
There you go. Toriyama teamed up with Ichiro Oda, the guy who created One Piece, to create a crossover chapter of Dragon Ball and One Piece entitled Cross Epoch. The chapter was published in December 25th issue of Weekly Shonen Jump, and it was published in English in April 2011 in the issue of the American Shonen Jump over here. So there you go.
There is also a clip on YouTube over there involving Luffy and Goku, along with another anime character that got crossed over. So there is an animated adaptation of probably that.
So guys, if you want to check it out, do so. And if you want to comment on this and talk about Dragon Ball's impact on you, do you feel that the series has been given its due, or do you think it's oversaturated? Give us a call on 760-512-7247. That's 760-512-7247. Or just contact us by clicking on the link and using the Skype button to call in for free, because if you're cheap and cheerful, we can still make sure that you get to call us and talk to us about all things manga and anime related. So let's continue about this and talk about the Dragon Ball Z saga. How did the Dragon Ball Z saga differ from Dragon Ball? Because Dragon Ball, he was a kid, it was very tongue-in-cheek, and it was a lot more used at his journey to find his Dragon Balls.
Well, yeah, it's like... first off, let's take a look at what you just said, find the Dragon Balls. The whole point of the Dragon Ball series was finding the Dragon Balls. It was about Goku, Yamcha,
Krillin,
and a bunch of characters that are no longer relevant banding together, and trying to find them and overcoming the trials. Well, in Dragon Ball Z, it was like the Dragon Balls had pretty much lost all the relevance. It was pretty much our friends are dead. Probably should get those balls in a episode and wish them back.
Yeah, it was actually seen as that, wasn't it? It was literally...
It was a cop-out to bring back characters that killed off.
Yeah, it was more... And I don't understand how they kept wishing on these Dragon Balls as well, because as you said before, it was one wish.
They'd bull-crap the audience because they realised they'd back themselves into a corner.
But how did they find a way around this, though?
Okay, well, the initial way is that apparently the Namek Dragon Balls have more wishes. So there was that. And also when Dende passed away, not Dende, Kamiya passed away and Dende took over, apparently the new set of Dragon Balls were more powerful than the last.
Okay, so
it was basically a cop-out on their part, but that was one of the few writing flaws they had in the show.
But it's also led to the whole, story arcs, including the reveal of Vegeta, and how Goku's planet was eventually destroyed by Frieza, the reveal of Frieza, Majin Buu saga, and it showed you a lot more that was going on.
Once Dragon Ball had ended, Dragon Ball Z was definitely about the fighting. They'd started touching that on the end of Dragon Ball, but it truly didn't come to its climax until we got Dragon Ball Z, which is the most popular, with the power-ups, the Super Saiyan transformations, and the various villains they had.
Yeah, and a lot of the transformations were parodied on YouTube as well, wasn't it? Because we had, there was this kid, I'm trying to figure out what his name was, and how can I say this? It's...
You want to know the one that made a twat of himself?
There was this kid on YouTube who said he was a Super Saiyan, that we all should be Super Saiyans, and literally went around and telling everybody that he's got this power, and he was tensing himself like he was taking a shit. Did the whole thing. People actually remade the video because it got so popular, to actually add the graphics and bits and pieces to say that he is a Super Saiyan.
It's kind of neat how the internet is.
Yeah, it was one of those things where it was like, yeah, okay, we can see that you're a big fan of it. We understand why you're doing it. And it was quite funny. It was quite fun to actually see something like that.
That really just shows how passionate the fans are of the series. I mean, it's got a huge audience. When I first started working in America, originally being from the UK, my boss actually happened to be one of the biggest Dragon Ball Z and anime fans possible, and he's like 40-something years old.
So, how did you find that out?
How that my boss was a fan?
Yeah.
What it is, I don't actually think I've told you, but my wife is minor in college, is speaking Japanese.
Wow.
And yeah, so her son, my boss's son and her was in the same class. Well, they went out to a Japanese buffet, and I got invited and tagged along. Started speaking to her son, and that got me the job. And obviously, he asked where I met his son, and it led to that.
There we go. But that's the thing as well. I find that how did I actually get involved in the whole Dragon Ball series?
Oh, I know how I got involved originally. I just ended up tuning in one day to an episode of Dragon Ball Z, and I loved it from there. I think it was around the time of the Frieza saga, because that was repeated so many times on Cartoon Network.
So yeah, that's what you guys have to think about here. It's literally one of those series where I kind of only got in touch with it. Again, this was through my own brother, who sort of steered me towards the anime. Whereas when I saw it here, the original Dragon Ball series had some nice music on it. When Dragon Ball Z debuted here, they had that
Dragon.
Yeah, do you remember that Dragon Ball?
Dragon, rock the dragon.
It was like, what the fuck are they doing? I'm so glad they didn't take that method with Naruto. I'm glad that they decided to go something different.
I don't mind too much. It's very fun looking back as a kid from my childhood. It's a part of me.
Yeah, it's one of those where it's just like, really? But yeah,
it's hell, but it worked.
Yeah. Now, in terms of moving on from segueing from Dragon Ball Z to Dragon Ball GT, you literally get to see this guy's life. You go and see Goku raise his family. You see his kids get involved. You see the debut of a character by the name of Trunks, who came from the future.
You get to see Goku's son go through all these trials of losing his dad and watching all his friends get punished and beaten up, and
Gohan,
great warrior, Super Saiyan 2, and that was probably my favourite episode. Yeah,
and you get to see all these characters come in and become something different in a sense. You know, they're
all evolve.
Yeah, they evolve and become different characters, and they have their own identity in terms of this universe. But in a sense as well, you get to see characters like Yamcha, Krillin. You know, Krillin gets back to a robot, doesn't he?
Yeah, Android 8. Well, not so much a robot, but kind of half robot, half woman between her. Yeah, Krillin and Android 18.
Yeah, because she says, because I remember they have a kid, don't they? And they ask her how, because she's supposed to be an android.
Well, she was a human first before she was made into something, so...
Yeah, so there we go. And again, we look into that whole android saga as well, which was... You wouldn't expect that from kids. Do you know what I mean? You wouldn't expect to see that sort of thing happen in terms of that saga, because then Cell, when Cell becomes Perfect Cell and absorbs these androids into his being, it's haunting. It's like a horror movie in a sense.
Yeah, it's like, you literally... I remember when he absorbed Android 17 and that weird, creepy tail just took over his body, and you hear him screaming and his legs wiggling as he becomes a part of Cell.
Yeah, and to me, I was just like, what the hell? You know, I was like going to crap myself.
For my age, that was a pretty hardcore anime at the time. I mean, for example, you had Cell tie up Piccolo in his body and literally suck the fluid and blood out of Piccolo's arm, and Piccolo only to rip it off and regenerate it.
Yeah, and it was extremely hardcore. And watching stuff like that, and watching how Goku basically transitioned, because his story was literally becoming the most powerful being in the universe.
And he's literally, when you look at him from Dragon Ball, he was the most unlikely candidate. He was just this little kid who was cheerful and joyful, and he doesn't really get serious until later on in the series.
Yeah. And it's like with his first fight where he had the fight with Frieza's men, where we first were introduced to Vegeta, and he says he's over 8,000, and Goku comes in, he sees all his friends are dead, he helps Krillin, helps his son, tells him to leave, turns back, and just has this vicious look on his face.
It was really an evolution of character. I mean, he was totally the polar opposite in Dragon Ball, and it was very cool. Yeah.
You could see how, it's like where he was more childlike before, he's now become tainted by the world around him in a sense.
At the same time, he never lost his innocence.
Yes. So, when we go from there, we're now segueing from the series onto GT. What happened? Why did GT get such a negative backlash from the audience?
Well, what it was, you've got this audience that's been conditioned from Dragon Ball, this cheerful, happy series, which transitioned to a more hardcore fighting based of Dragon Ball Z. Well, if you watch the first set of episodes from Dragon Ball GT, which some people haven't because Akira Toriyama actually cut it initially from the DVD releases, it was trying to bring about that magic of going around the universe and collecting all the Dragon Balls. And it didn't take itself as serious as Dragon Ball Z until that's when the audience backlashed. So they felt rushed and almost, what's the word I'm looking for, forced into writing it back much like the Dragon Ball Z series. I don't think it was ever intended to be what it was meant to be.
Yeah, because it took two turns, didn't it? One, Goku became this childlike character again.
Yeah, and it was that was the whole point. He was trying to remake a Dragon Ball series. It was never intended to be Dragon Ball Z 2.0, but that's what it got forced into from the backlash of the fans.
Yeah, and then
if you're forced to do something that you're just not looking forward to doing, that's the content you're going to come out with.
Yeah, and this is the thing, right? And he basically had this turn. He became this little kid, and then it segued onto this new, more Dragon Ball-esque, or Dragon Ball Z-esque situation, because he was running around the world with because the first half was him running around with his granddaughter,
who was bigger than.
Yeah, as he was a childlike character, trying to find the Dragon Balls to turn himself back into an adult again.
And they threw Trunks in there.
And they threw Trunks in there as well. And then eventually it turned into something different, because Vegeta was possessed by Baby and becomes this sort of would you call him a cyborg?
He's got a history of being possessed, hasn't he?
Yeah. But
what it was the Baby is a Tuffle or Truffle. What was that race called? Tuffles, I think it was.
Yeah.
He took over Vegeta's body, and pretty much most people, because he took over various bodies and just planted eggs in them to possess them. With Vegeta, he kind of literally took over his body and made it his own vessel and went through some weird metamorphosis transformation.
So yeah, then he was eventually split from Vegeta, though.
Yeah, because he was after Vegeta possessed him and became the Great Ape. I think he fled his body when he was going to get his ass kicked and got shot in the sun.
But then he was. Then Vegeta had this huge fight with Super Android 17, who made his return, because all these characters were coming back from, was it from Hell that they were coming back from?
They don't call it Hell, they call it HF something.
Yeah. He's... But yeah, sorry, Stephen, go on.
I've heard them call it two different things. In the games, they call it like HFIL, and I think in GT they called it Hades.
So it's literally, I'm just going to call it Hell.
Yeah, for to say, because it was really dumb.
So they're literally, him and Vegeta are trying to fight and take care of these other characters, and literally protect the Earth once again from all the enemies that they were fighting before, including Super Android 17. And then at the end, Vegeta says his farewell to Goku, who then is has all the Dragon Balls pumped into him as he becomes the new guardian of the Dragon Balls. And he literally...
Dragon Ball GT's ending wasn't as obvious as that to me. I don't know where they was going with that, because he flew way off on the dragon at the end of the series, and I don't know if he just went away to train with the dragon or whatnot, because the dialogue between him and Vegeta was very weird.
Well, in the English dialogue, they actually say that he's going to... he's literally going to be the new protector. Because to stop the Dragon Balls, because originally the Dragon Balls cracked because of constant use. From what the series originally happened, the darkness from the Dragon Balls came out and corrupted everything, including turning Goku into a small little child. So to see that doesn't happen again, he becomes the new guardian of the Dragon Balls. He leaves his family behind, which I have no fucking clue why that happened.
Well, he did that once already with Oob. It was like, hey guys, I know that I'm back to life now after all these years and without growing up around you, and yeah, I'm just going to take this small kid that used to be an evil villain and train him. See ya. Yeah,
it's like...
Father of the fucking year.
Do you know what I mean? It's like, oh yeah, my friend who used to be a villain is going to be training my son, and... yeah.
Why is Chi-Chi not dumped his ass?
I don't understand that as well, but apparently she's a bit psycho. She was like completely psycho in the Dragon Ball series, wasn't she?
Yeah.
She was like the lead villain in that series.
She's been psycho throughout the whole series, but she's very amusing.
She is very amusing. So there you go. So why, as I said, with the GT series, it's kind of, they tried the whole Dragon Ball thing. People got pissed off.
It was not natural, and I think it was a forced series. I think it was just for money. You brought oversaturation up earlier, I don't know, and that's what it was. It was oversaturated.
So there we go. And now let's segue on to Dragon Ball Z Kai. Why did they do this? Why has he done another series based on the original Dragon Ball Z footage?
Okay, well, behind that was... You know how we've had animes that had a lot of filler in, Naruto being a prime example of that? Well, Dragon Ball Z also suffered from that. The fans said they didn't want the Garlic Jr. saga, they didn't want this, they didn't want that. Because of how bitchy the fans were, he just decided to re-release the series, but this time round he was going to cut all the filler out. It's probably the only show in existence where you can cut a bunch of scenes and stuff out, and the fans like it more.
Fair enough. So, how strong is Kai going at the moment? I do believe they've had a release of a new Dragon Ball movie that came out recently.
Well, Kai's and they ended it at the Cell Saga. I don't know why. I think it might have just got cancelled, or they just didn't have the ambition to do it anymore. But the new movie basically follows the Majin Buu saga.
So it's basically a side story.
Kai's a retelling of Z, and the new Dragon Ball Z movie is a new movie. It's basically continuing the series and basically treating GT as it never happened.
Fair enough. So that's pretty much it on that. If you guys want to give us a call and talk about the Dragon Ball Z GT or the Dragon Ball series and what your take is on this and why they decided to go one way or another, in terms of it, and why it was so messed up with the GT series, you can do that on 760-512-7247. That's 760-512-7247. Or you can click on the link and click on the Skype button and call in for free. You can also tweet us on Twitter. You can tweet me at Michael Burhan, or on our Facebook page, facebook.com MegaPowersRadio. So there you go, guys. And let's continue discussion as we're moving on to another series now, which became a very, very popular series, something which I'm only now getting into, which is Death Note.
Well, this is definitely one of my favourite animes, and...
So, Stephen,
do you want me to lead off with it?
Take the charge. I would be more than happy, because it's a series that's basically from the bottom of your heart, and I can lead into all the other technical stuff afterwards. So why is it your favourite series?
Well, starting off with the story, you've got this kid who's basically found himself complacent in life. which many of us have at times, and he's seeing all the wrongs and the rights in the world around him. He's seen all these criminals go unpunished who are doing rotten deeds. They spend a measly certain amount of time in jail and get released and commit the same deeds again. And you've heard people say it before many a time, the world would be better off if he wasn't here or he was dead. And it was pretty much this kid who's come along across this Death Note, this book that if he writes a person's name down or a method of death, they will die.
Mm-hmm.
And
how did he get this book though?
Well, he's just sitting in class one day. He's pretty much numbed from the teacher's lecture. He's barely paying attention because he's a genius and he doesn't need to listen. And from the corner of his eye, he watches this book fall down from the sky and land. He's not too sure what it is, so he goes outside after class and he finds this Death Note. He picks it up and he basically reads the rules of the Death Note, and he's like, that's funny. It's probably just one of these silly chain letter things. And he takes it back home, and he's constantly eyeing up this book, and he notices a murderer on TV, and he writes this guy's name down in it, and next thing he knows, he dies, and he panics and thinks it's just a coincidence. Following that, he ends up testing it a few more times on a girl who's about to be raped, and that's where the story kicks off, where he starts punishing criminals. Yeah,
and the book itself, it came from the underworld, didn't it? It came from this...
The Shinigami realm.
The Shinigami realm, and it came from this entity. What was the entity's name?
You've got Ryuk, who is he's basically a rogue Shinigami, and what he has done, he's actually got 2 Death Notes. He's from the main Shinigami, basically the leader. He's stolen his book, as well as having his own. He's very bored of his role because all he's doing is sitting up there, playing poker, looking down on all the scummy humans and killing whoever he feels like. And he goes, you know what, I'm just going to drop this Death Note down and see what happens.
Yeah, because he kept saying that he loses them, but he drops them on purpose, doesn't he? He goes into the mortal realm, and he knows full well that if that Death Note...
Yeah, their curiosity is going to result in a whole bunch of fun for him.
Yeah, and he knows as well that this Death Note, as soon as it hits the mortal realm, it becomes part of that realm. He can't take it back. But the mortal who takes it, it becomes their possession until they hand it over to somebody else. And the fun part for him about this is they can't go to heaven or hell after they use this book.
Mm-hmm.
They have to come directly to him.
Well, yeah, there's also a series after Death Note where it's teased that Light is now a Shinigami. It's called Death Note Relight, and it basically retells a story based on this Shinigami that's gone up to Ryuk and asked him about the time that he dropped the Death Note, and he shows very similarities to Light, and he even offers Ryuk an apple, which has become his favourite food.
So that's the thing as well. Is that series still ongoing, by the way?
Relight, it was a special. It's already released on DVD, I think.
I may take a look at that after I've finalised myself with the series. So yeah, he goes on this, and he becomes literally the evil antagonist in the series.
But he's the primary character.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if you can call him evil. I mean, he's more psychotic than he is evil. His ideals are in the right place, but he becomes that egocentric that it divulges into something totally different.
So, can you tell me why he becomes so corrupted with this thing?
Well, it's the old saying, absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Yeah, because he literally goes from being this...
he was just a normal, timid kid, and he just drops off the deep end.
And then he has his first kill.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I'm doing it for the greater good, I'm doing it for the greater good. And then literally writes down all these names of well-known criminals, of tons of criminals all over the world who can't be stopped, and just kills them.
Yeah, he sees himself as this doer of right, and that no one else on the planet Earth has the mind capacity, the intelligence, and the integrity and justice that he carries to act out on these and punish those who need to be punished.
So that's the thing as well. He then gets the attention of Interpol, doesn't he, and a world-famous detective who quickly learns that this kid's becoming a serial killer.
Well, he tricks Light very... His way of actually revealing where Light is and start moving in on to bring him to justice in jail is very interesting. It starts off with him basically producing videos saying, we know that you are in this region, but he's only releasing it in certain areas. So Light trips up and responds during a broadcast that's only in the Kanto region, and they know it's Kanto.
Yeah.
And from there, you have this, you have these two contrasting characters that both essentially have the same ideals of I am justice, I am right, and I'm going to bring you down.
Yeah, because L's literally saying, you know what, you can't basically do this. You can't go around killing innocent people, even though they may have done something wrong. You're not God in a certain sense. But he keeps trying to bust him, but you can't find the way to take him, And
it becomes awesome because you've got two contrasting characters that are trying to find out the other one. You've got L who's trying to prove that Light's this evildoer that he's Kira, and you've got Light who's trying to find out L's real identity.
Yeah, and that's the thing as well. You got, as you said, L's trying to find out exactly who he is and why he's kind of getting infatuated with this, in a sense. And Light loves the challenge because he eventually wants to make sure that this guy never finds out who he is,
but he also wants to kill him in the process.
Yes, but he doesn't want to do it by conventional means because he could have written his name in the death book anytime he wanted to.
Mhm. Well, he doesn't know L's name. That's the problem. He just comes off as L.
So, but eventually he does succeed in that, doesn't he?
He doesn't actually find out his name. The way he does it is, eventually there's another second Kira that appears, known as Misa Misa, who essentially is Light's love interest. He's using her basically as a second way and second means of killing people whilst keeping his own name clear.
Yeah.
And through using Misa Misa's Shinigami, they end up getting rid of L. And that's pretty much where the series takes a dark turn and loses a lot of love with fans. But I think the ending of the series really tops it off and makes it worthwhile. So,
tell me a little bit about the series' dark turn then, when it takes a really dark turn. What happens? Why does Light succumb to this darkness?
Well, me and my wife have a theory on when Light truly went over the edge. Mm-hmm. There's a scene where you've got, basically after L passes, there's two more people that basically come to fight Light. You've got Mello and you've got Nia. They've basically been put in the same role as L, so when L passes, that they're going to take over his role. And they're both trying to kill Kira, and Mello eventually captures Kira's sister. And he contemplates killing his sister so that he can live and continue doing his thing. And he really takes this dark, twisted turn, and he ends up thinking unconventionally, he ends up trusting people where normally he'd work alone, and it becomes very odd. It's almost different from the series that you fall in love with, and it's easy to fall out of love with, but at the same time, if you stick through it, it's all worth it in the end.
Yeah, so as you said, you had this theory where you feel that he truly went over the edge. Do you think the decision that he made, that when he was considering killing his own sister, do you think that's when he went over the edge?
Yeah, because before then he was all about justice, about only killing who was wrong, who deserved it. Now, and killing people who got in his way. This is the first time where he's considered about killing someone who was just to protect himself. Not just being anybody off the street, but his own flesh and blood.
So that's the big thing here as well, isn't it? It's making a conscious decision to kill someone that, in regard to this, is someone you love. It's a family member. It's the person you've been raised with.
Yeah, it's like at the beginning of the series, he's helping her with math problems, and now she's a kidnappee, and he's considering about taking her life. It's the polar opposite of what was happening.
So again, by your own judgment though, what would you rate this series? Is it a must-see for all those guys out there? Try and sell it to those people out there who haven't seen this.
Who haven't seen Death Note. Okay, if you like well-written plot lines, if you like deep characters, and lack of... Well, you know what? This is one of the few series I can say has got zero filler. It was well written, and it has you conflicted of who you want to support, who you hate, and you never know who's going to die, and you never know what tricks they're going to pull. It's like Light and L. When you think you know what's going to happen next, something else happens. It's such a well-written series, and it constantly has up and downs. It constantly has twists and plot turns. It's really good.
There's a saying that goes with that. It's like once you know the story, they change the script.
It is pretty much that. It's like you think you've got it figured out how Light's going to get L, and then L pulls a bag of tricks out, and it results in some comical situations and some serious situations. Because the anime is not just totally dark; it does have its own comical areas, and it has a lot of character development.
Exactly, and that's the thing here as well. When you're looking at it, you're looking at the characters, you're looking at the story here, and the way that this is put together. And the great thing, and I find that with the Japanese, especially in regards to anime, in regards to manga, the way things are written, they're written very well, because there is that balance between story and humor. And I think the reason why people got annoyed with this was because of the fact that the humor died as soon as L passed.
Well, in addition to that, what you've got to remember, they've got into the series now where they've had L develop so much as a character that when he's finally died, and you bring in these new two people taking over his role, it's kind of like, but we had L.
Yeah.
Who are these guys? And they're nowhere near as developed as L ever was, and that's another big issue.
Do you think they killed him off too soon?
No, I don't, but I think they did a poor job of not developing Mello and Nia. I think they could have been referenced in the original series, but again, that takes out the surprise of Nia and Mello showing up. So it's very hard. I think maybe the series could have been cut short on the second arc, but I don't know.
So let's go into this a little bit about who wrote this, when it was actually made for Shonen Jump, because Stephen actually put it really beautifully in terms of the plot line and the story of this, and it's made me want to watch this even more, because I started from episode 1 today, and I was very familiar with the story because I had people saying, oh, you need to watch it, but no one actually gave me an encompassed an idea of why I should watch this. So I was like, okay, and they went, you literally, and I think the way you put it was so beautifully put. You're watching someone who is innocent and timid. He's like a hero in a sense. He could be a hero if he wanted to. Someone who has so much potential. He could be the next Bill Gates. He could literally be a guy who could make millions, do whatever he wants.
He's already helped. The best thing is he's already helped the police capture criminals in the past, and he's like got the highest scores on the entrance exams to college and school. And he just takes this horrible, twisted road after having such good intentions. And
that's the thing as well with this. You've got to look at the fact that he's taken such a very dark turn and gone from being this hero to this huge villain to the point where he goes over the fucking edge. And that's the great thing about the story. Now, let's go into details about when it was published. It was published in the Weekly Shonen Jump from December 2003 to May 2006. It was also published in tankobon format in Japan, starting in May 2004 and ending in October 2006, with a total of 12 volumes. It was an extremely short one, but again, it was something that was intriguing in a sense on itself. It's still, people still talk about this anime. They still talk about the manga. They still talk about everything Death Note-wise. It's even been parodied by places like Smosh, for instance, who have parodied Death Note because it's so immersed in culture, in pop culture. And let's talk about who created it. It was created by writer Sugami Oba and manga artist Takashi Obata. And these are guys who created it. It was published in Shonen Jump around that time. And now we're going to segue from this series and move over to one of our final series before we sort of bring this show to a close. So we'll do that and go into not a series that's not actually. I don't believe it was made into a anime of such, which is Hunter x Hunter. I might be wrong. It basically premiered in March 1998. Now, it's a Japanese manga series written and illustrated by Yoshiro Tagashi, and it focuses on a young boy named Gori who discovers that his father, whom he was told was dead, is actually alive and well. He learns that his father, Ging, is in a world-renowned hunter and a licensed profession for those who specialize in fantastic pursuits such as locating rare and unidentified animal species, treasure hunting, and surveying unexplored enclaves. So his dad's basically Indiana Jones. So,
well, I've personally never heard of this show before, so this is a new education experience for me.
Well, basically, his dad hunts down lawless individuals, despite Jing having left his son when he, with his relatives, in order to pursue his own dreams. Gon departs upon a journey to follow his father's footsteps and pass a rigorous hunter examination, and eventually find his father along the way. Gon meets various other kinds of hunters and also encounters a paranormal, and the original inspiration for the manga came from Tagashi's own collecting hobby. Now, Hunter x Hunter began its manga serialization on March 3rd, 1998 in the Suishu magazine Weekly Shonen Jump. As of December 2012, 340 chapters have been published, 32 tankobon chapters, and in Japan, however, the manga has frequently gone on hiatus since 2006. Hunter x Hunter was translated into English, released in North America by Viz Media beginning in April 2005. In 1999, the manga series was adapted into a 62-episode anime television series. Also, it was adapted into an anime. Produced by Nippon Animation and directed by Kazuhiro Furashi. The anime premiered in Japan's Fuji TV on 3 separate original video animations, which are OVAs, totaling 30 episodes, and are subsequently produced by Nippon Animation. Now, again, guys, if you want to talk about this series, or about Death Note, Dragon Ball series, or you want to talk about Bleach, please give us a call on 760-512-7247. That's 760-512-7247. Or you can tweet us or Facebook us on facebook.com megapowersradio. And you can also, if you want to call in and you don't want to spend the money, click on the Skype button. And we'll make sure that we'll bring you in and you can tell us what your experience were with these and what you feel about it, or if you feel that, how the turn in Death Note took, or how Hunter x Hunter was a very underrated series. I want to hear from you. Now, let's look at the plot of this, exactly what Hunter x Hunter was. Apparently, it's been a huge financial success and it's become one of Suishu's best-selling manga series, with it having sold over 65.8 million copies in Japan alone. As of February 2013, popularity and viewer recognition of the anime series has proven much more modest. Critics of both manga and its television adaptation have praised it as having been a complex plot, endearing characters, and superb art. The animation, however, reviewers disregard as the quality of anime's music and sound. Right, so let's talk about the characters on this. So 12 years prior to the start of the story, Ging freezes left his infant son, Gon freezes, with Gon's aunt Mito on Whale Island. Gon, who was told all his life that both his parents were dead, finds out that Ging's apprentice Kite, that his father is still alive, and has since become an accomplished hunter. Hunters are licensed elite members of humanity who are capable of tracking down secret treasures, rare beasts, or even individuals. That sounds like a cool job, Steve. Imagine having a job as a hunter. It's like Dog the Bounty Hunter, but going around hunting bear beasts and treasure.
And without having the crappy mullet.
Without having the crappy mullet or the wife with the big breasts. So it's pretty much all those things encompassed in this guy. He sounds awesome, like Indiana Jones on crack. So
I got to wonder why. I mean, I've personally not heard the series. I'd heard of the series before. I don't know if that's just through being uneducated or not being as popular as it's making out to be. I mean, have you heard of it before?
I haven't. This is the big thing here. I saw it on there as this, as this series. It's kind of different in terms of what we actually get over here in the UK and United States. It was licensed by Viz Media, but it probably wasn't as popular over in the United States and UK as it was over in Japan.
Well, how many episodes did it have?
I'm looking at that at the moment to see if I can find how many episodes that TV series had. Okay.
I think it was 30 from what I'm reading.
Yeah,
30 episodes. I mean, that might be why. I mean, some people do not get invested in the series unless it's long.
Yeah, it basically ended in September 2001. So that's probably the reason why. And Viz has partnered with Warner Home Video to distribute the DVDs of Hunter x Hunter beginning and it also was produced in the Funimation channel in spring 2009. So there we go. And it was mostly released in OVA series, so that's probably why. But yeah, anything else that you want to put out there for the Shonen Jump series? What do you think? It's created so many beloved anime titles. Steve?
Well, I think it's great that it gives multiple cultures a way of finding out about these series, and also you mentioned earlier the Shonen Jump Next. I think it's great that they give new artists and new anime writers a chance to produce their content and get it out to a wide audience.
Yeah, exactly. It was one of those magazines where, because usually you'd have, like, in terms of Marvel Comics, DC, Dark Horse, for instance, these characters that encompass around a universe of comics, whereas Shonen Jump is a comic that encompasses all these characters. None of them, apart from the whole One Piece, Dragon Ball, dual episodes you've stated, have come in contact with each other, and have created all these amazing, amazing series that have actually come out of the Shonen Jump comic. And it has become so popular, it's actually transitioned over here to Western audiences. So that shows how much of an impact these things have made. And again, they've immersed themselves in pop culture here. So that shows how amazing these titles have become, and how much of an amazing core title that Shonen Jump has become. Because without Shonen Jump, none of these titles would have probably even gotten a look in.
In addition, it's very great. It's great, but now that the newer audience that's gone all digital is going to have a chance to experience these, because they've not been stuck in the times and they've moved on to the internet. So hopefully we get just a series that are just as great or even better come out on the internet and people become aware of it.
Well, as you know, guys, this show itself this is the pilot, and if all things are successful, so I want you to make sure that you pass this on to your friends and family and whoever you know likes anime, because we talked about a lot today. And if it is successful, I want to actually look at the second episode, where we're going to be looking at an original video animation series turned into a television series, spawned into spin-offs, spawned into everything else, and that is the series Tenchi Muyo. If you guys know about the series, you probably know why I love it so much. It's extremely tongue-in-cheek. Have you seen it, Stephen?
Nope, but I'm pretty sure to check it out now that you've recommended it to me.
The funny thing about it is it actually started off as a parody of Star Wars. So it's literally a hilarious little series. Check out the OVA first. I believe there's 2 OVA sets. There's the first original OVA before they turned it into a series and kind of rebooted the universe. Then they spawned from that series some feature films that came out of it, including Tenchi in Love, which is an amazing, amazing movie. And then they decided to rehash it again and go back into the original video animation series and conclude that with the continuation saga. Now, I haven't found an English sub of the second half of the OVA series, so I'm trying to find that. If any of you guys know, please leave a message on our Facebook page, facebook.com/MegaPowersRadio, so we can take a look at this and get it done. And as I said, this show's going to be every month, so if you've got any ideas, if you want us to actually review any titles, any core manga titles, leave a message on the Mega Powers site, and I will make sure that we will get back to you. Or you can email me, Michael Burhan @nerdgenius.com, and I'll make sure that I get back to you. I'll reply to all my emails, and also tweet me as well at twitter.com Michael Burhan. And Stephen, do you have any plugs before we go off the air?
I got no plugs, but I've been online recently and I've seen a hot topic being subs versus dubs, so if you want us to talk about that, make sure you contact Burhan.
There you go, guys. And before we go, I want to give us our top 3 of our Shonen Jump series is, and from like the top 3 series that you feel reflected best from the Shonen Jump, succeeded. And for me, my top 3 is as follows. Number 3, Dragon Ball, and GT is the reason why it kind of let the series down. Otherwise, it'd be a lot higher. Number 2, Naruto. It's still ongoing. I love that series. I know there's a lot of people who probably don't like it as much, but as you know, it's a good series. We've got a caller in as well.
Oh.
Sean Hennessy, 1989. Sean, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, mate. I'm really enjoying the show. I'm a long-time listener, you know how it goes.
Yeah, Otaku Nation, myself and Stephen. Stephen's done an amazing job tonight with me on this show. What do you have a top 3 animes that have spawned off from Shonen Jump? Do you have 3 animes that you feel actually benefited from
Number
being
1,
part of Shonen Jump? Go for it.
Bleach. Bleach should never have ended, in my opinion. Bleach is just the bee's knees. Number 2, Dragon Ball Z. Again, that should have ended a long time ago, and the new transformations that they're doing with this Goku God transformation and shit is just god-awful. And,
so what's Goku God transformation? Is this from the movie?
Yeah, the newest
This is from the new movie, yeah. It's a pile of wank. They shit all over GT.
Have you checked it out?
I've checked it out. It's awful. The movie itself isn't too bad, but
okay. I've seen the transformation. It was very lackluster. It was kind of a Kaioken with weird eyes.
Thank you. That's what I said. But people, kick off at these sort of things. And number 3 is Yu-Gi-Oh. Again, the first series was the better series, and it should have ended there.
Don't you like the whole Yu-Gi-Oh being transformed down the timeline to all of his descendants?
Card games and motorcycles.
Okay.
Enough said.
As you guys know, as I was saying, my top 3 are Dragon Ball, Z, and GT. Again, it would have been a lot higher. Number 2 is Naruto, and number 1, Death Note. From what I've actually seen of the series and also what I've read, my God, it is extremely compelling. So, Stephen, go for your top 3.
My top 3? It's got to be... Number 3, I'm probably going to go with One Piece, just because it's actually broken the mold and become extremely popular and diverse, and the community is obviously loving it, otherwise it wouldn't have outsold Dragon Ball Z. The second one is probably Death Note for me, because it captivated me and I fell in love with it from day one. And you go to a convention and you should see the costumes. It's ridiculously popular with the older audience. And number 3, it's got to be Dragon Ball Z for me. It's my first anime that I truly fell in love with, and if you take a look what Shonen Jump's done for it, it's insanely popular, and it's pretty old and still beloved today.
So there you go, guys. There's our top 3. And Sean, do you want to put any plugs out there for yourself?
Well, not really. It's your show, so I'm just a guest bringing up trolling the internet. That's what I'm doing, but trolling the internet.
Well, you can get a hold of Sean. It's Sean Walker 2K on Twitter, and he's also Sean Hennessy 1989 on YouTube. Check out his videos, including some Pokemon videos, which I'm trying to pester him to keep doing. Because, man, I need to see them. It's getting ridiculous now.
I'm sorry.
Videos, Sean.
The longer you wait, the better, isn't it?
It's exactly what they're doing with Hunter x Hunter, basically, just putting yourself on hiatus for a bit. So, Sean, what did you think of the review today? Do you feel that Shonen Jump was actually shown in a positive light?
Yeah, well, I caught the show. I caught the last 45 minutes of it. You guys did well. I really thoroughly enjoyed it.
So there you go, guys. And remember, this is your one-stop shop for anime. So make sure that you distribute this, you sub us, you like us, you make sure that this is going to be your premiere event every month for everything anime orientated. And make sure you catch myself, Stephen, and also Sean on our many Mega Powers Network shows, including I Got Gameplay every Saturday at 8 p.m, which we talk all things gaming. This week we talked about Gamescom, also Keeping Kayfabe every Thursday night at 9 p.m, which we talk all things nostalgic wrestling.
And I'll be making my debut on that show, so anyone who checks it out, I'll appreciate it.
Stephen will be making his debut on that show, and he will basically be in the middle of a huge match with Brett versus Sean, WrestleMania 12. Ooh. And also you can check out Geek Speak every Tuesday at 8 p.m, where myself, Brandon Ligon, and Mike Payton talk everything geeky, from comic books to movies to loads of other stuff, where we basically highlight loads of things that are in the news in terms of geekdom. We'll probably be talking a lot about the whole Ben Affleck situation, so make sure you tune in on that. And also you can catch me on the Daceman Show every Wednesday night at 8 p.m, where we'll be doing from 8 till, I believe we'll be doing from 8 till 9, and we're talking everything that Dace wants to talk about in a talk show style format with myself, with Chris Dace, and also whoever else he has on the show. Mad props to Dace, as he is amazing, as the Dace Man Show has become one of the biggest hits on Mega Powers Radio. Also, you can catch us on the Monday Night Raw post show every Monday after Raw at 11 p.m. So you can check us out on that, as we basically break down it's going to be usually myself and Mike Payton and a panel of hosts from Smart Out Moment and Keeping Kayfabe, as we break down everything about that night on Raw. And also every Sunday, before a pay-per-view, getting tongue-tied here, we have the pay-per-view pre-show. I believe next month, isn't it now? Next month it's going to be
Night of Champions.
Night of Champions, thank you guys. Night of Champions. So make sure that you check that out, guys. Again, it's the huge panel of Keeping Kayfabe and Smart Out Moment. Mega Powers Radio, we have a stacked channel with great content, and we have everything for everyone. So make sure you make it Mega Powers Radio for your one-stop shop for your nerdgasms. And that's pretty much it from us, guys. And as I'm going to be clicking on the outro and outroing us out now, make sure that you remember, this is Michael Burhan, this is Stephen, I can't say your last name properly, Stephen.
Stephen
Wadling, there you go. I'll get it in the end. That's what I did with Lee Garrisich. I'll get it with you in the end. Stephen Wadling.
Just go Stephen.
Stephen. And Sean Walker, as we say, good night from us. And remember, if you love anime, stay tuned to Otaku Nation.